Welcome back to Moms Get Real. I'm Juju Chang in New York, and with me is GMA Life and Family contributor Lee Woodruff, as well as Rami Lasali, founder of TrueMomConfessions.com. And of course, today's topic is to spank or not to spank. That is the question. I'd like to welcome to the show Dr. Beth Gross-Hans. She's a clinical psychologist and author of Beyond Timeout, From Chaos to Calm. Welcome, Dr. Gross-Hans.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well, and I'm told you have a lot to say about the discussion on spanking. What do you make of this idea that spanking, when done properly, is in fact the best form of discipline?
Well, it makes my fingers itch. I have to say that whole conversation was getting me all stirred up. I think what I'm kind of reflecting on is that even in 2010, we're still even posing a conversation about to spank or not to spank, as though there really is still legitimacy to the option. The current study is the most conclusive evidence that we've had, but we've certainly had evidence for the last at least 30 to 40 years that shows us over and over and over again that spanking is detrimental to children's development over time. It tends to work in the moment, but I have to qualify that term works. It gets children's attention, but it does it in a way that's fear-based and intimidation-based, and it does plant seeds of distrust and feelings of wanting revenge and resentment. There's no question that it undermines security in the parent-child relationship. It certainly promotes more social aggression across the board in these kids. And really the bottom line too is I think the reason that we're still talking about whether spanking should be used is because we have such a fundamental ineffective parenting culture right now. The strategies that parents are relying on most often, in fact, aren't working for them. When they get to the point where they're so frustrated and they know that the talking stuff doesn't work, they don't know what to do, and so they spank or swat or whatever, again, this continuum of hitting is. But the truth is, we never need to use hitting as a way to be effective as parents. We can absolutely harness effective but yet loving and respectful leadership with our children without ever resorting to these kinds of tactics.
Now, clearly, we use the device of anonymous dad or anonymous mom to get sort of people to be honest and frank and open and not just tell us the PC thing. And in this case, my fear is, or what I wonder is, if people say one thing, you know, in the light of day and do another behind closed doors.
Well, and I would say that what we're missing in this equation is, yes, it's wonderful to always play by the rules, but one of the moments I'm most ashamed of in my life, and I actually wrote about it in my book, was when Bob was embedded somewhere in a war for 3 months. I had 3-month-old twins, and they had woken up for the 10th night in a row for the 3rd time. There is a fatigue issue with motherhood, and we have to be able to forgive ourselves because we can't always play by all the rules.
Well, I want to also say, to go back to my point, which is that we have a parenting culture which is mired in ineffectiveness. And so parents are constantly bombarded not only with the stresses of all their other adult life issues, but they are fundamentally ineffective with their parents. And so, for example, having to wake up repeated times in the night, we are doing a very poor job helping our children to learn how to be independent, peaceful sleepers, to go to bed without much fuss, sleep through the night. So when you're presented with all of these challenges through the night, of course you're at your wit's end, and if you have other issues, as of course you did, Lee, then you break down and you spank. My kind of challenge to parents and to the parenting culture currently is we've got to shift our perspective and recognize that so much of what we're doing in our parenting roles with our children aren't working, and they leave us so vulnerable to these kinds of breakdowns that we feel so bad about.
Right, but I have to say, Dr. Gross-Hans, I've read a great deal, I've reported a great deal, and I think I know, sort of what some of the main tenets are of good parenting, and yet I find myself frustrated all the time. Is everybody failing as parents in this country? Is that what you're saying?
I think that we have an epidemic in this country, what I call imbalanced family power, IFP. And fundamentally, the parenting strategies of the last 50 to 60 years have been teaching parents to transfer power to their children with the reliance on reasoning, negotiating, fair-minded conversation, and emphasis on self-esteem, giving choices, paying more attention to kids being able to voice their opinions, a more democratic process. I could go on and on.
Right. But one of the things that, one of your arguments that I find most compelling is this idea that if you spank your child, then you are in fact making a mockery of your own, prohibition of having them hit or use violence.
That's just one other argument to dissuade parents from doing it, but there's a long list of ways that it's harmful. Now, again, I think that we're not talking about if you have 3 times in the course of your kids' lives where you break down and you spank, you're still going to feel bad about it, and those are ugly moments that none of us would like to have. But I think the conversation really is more about, do we want to talk about spanking as a legitimate form of discipline?
Right. So give us options. You talk about the ladder, climbing the ladder of discipline. How do you, where does that lead?
Well, my premise for writing it and offering a new discipline strategy to parents is because timeout has been the relied upon discipline strategy for the last at least 25 years, and it doesn't go far enough. It tells parents to put the misbehaving child in timeout, but then it doesn't tell them what to do if the child continues to protest or runs out. So my ladder is a 5-step strategy that takes parents literally beyond timeout, which is the name of the book, and step 4 and step 5 teach parents exactly what to do and what to say in the face of those very routine protests and resistances that kids give and that stymie parents.
Dr. Grossans, thank you so much. I just want to take a moment with Anonymous Mom from Florida. She's also a grandmother. Just in the brief time that we have left, and I know we contacted you through my Facebook page, so I thank you. What's your take on spanking?
I don't agree with the study, Juju. I think that children need discipline in their lives to become more productive adults. You got to draw the line, too, on the discipline. And back when I was raising my children, that was ruined for us because of the abusive parents that cross the line on the discipline.
Yeah, the question is one person's abuse is another person's spanking. Thank you so much, Anonymous Mom, for sharing those thoughts with us. I appreciate it. I know we have a lot to get to. We could be talking about this all day. I want to thank Rami and thank Lee for this discussion. To continue this discussion, you can go to Good Morning America's parenting section, and we'll see you next time on Moms Get Real.
ABC News Now. Good to know.